The Revenue Authority. Sleepless nights trying to comply with the costly and laborious requirements of electronic receipting and invoicing system, the IFRIS, with many questioning whether compliance, especially for value-added tax registered taxpayers operating business in the country, has become an illicit activity. Rona Nahabwe has the details.
The newly introduced taxing system, that is electronic receipting and invoicing system, has been tagged as a double-edged sword for businesses. It has adversely affected small and medium enterprises that contribute 90% to the country's businesses. Some of the administrative challenges include expecting them to make VAT on payment on income that has not yet been remitted. Companies that work with government are complaining that it is delaying to make payment, which is compromising their cash flow. Informal businesses that have not yet registered but have been able to supply to supermarkets and other businesses are complaining that they are unable to meet the 150 million shillings, that is the threshold, to be able to commit to supply to those supermarkets. Today, PSFU held a meeting with business owners and URA, and these are some of the revelations.
280 million. Since then, they have been paying in installment. You will see an invoice of 4 million, 10 million. We are still demanding like 160 million. Now, I was telling them, really, they have hoarded the capital. And when I was supplying the seedling, there are some other people whom I worked with, whom I'm supposed to pay. I borrowed from the suppliers. They are still on me. Now, during the rock, that is point one, government should pay our money so that we pay taxes and we improve better trade. Government pays us and also pay the taxes. During the rock time of 2 years, we poured juice worth 187 million. I had to go to the Commissioner General. I told him I'm not going to pick the expired goods from the market, because when I go and pick, they tell me to give them the fresh juice. He said, no, you go. I picked, they come and destroyed. Now, the excise duty alone which was destroyed was 32 million. Now, they're demanding from our company, it is 85 million. Now I was telling them, why can't you get the 85 million? You deduct the 32 million of the juice which was destroyed by URA. They said, you will go to level 4. I have gone to level 4 to meet, that is at Nakawa, to meet the managers so that they offset the juice which was poured, the taxes of the juice which was poured. I got tired. I went there 5 times, I could not. I sent our tax consultant, he went there about 5 times, he cannot. Now, interest is being charged on that money every month. You get stranded and you ask yourself, to become a manufacturer, is it an offense to me?
Small and medium enterprises represented added voice to these atrocities, saying the initiative to buy Uganda, build Uganda will die out because IFRIS will slowly make small businesses die out.
And they are not locked out from doing business with the supermarkets. Also, the supermarkets are crying the same because supermarkets, we've engaged at least Capital Shoppers and Mega Supermarket on this concern to try to find out how they are going about it. And they are saying that they are no longer doing business with the locals, with the small and medium, because most of them have not yet registered themselves with the URA portal. So giving them the only alternative of now selling a foreign product, which is maybe from our neighbors, Kenya. And you might find that now we are being locked out on the initiatives of the government, because the Minister of Trade launched the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. So now other government programs are somehow going they are going to be buried.
However, URA justifies the IFRIS mandate, promising that it will improve on the issue by using publicity.
It's not true that you cannot supply a supermarket even if you are not registered for VAT. Right now, IFRIS is only mandated for VAT registered taxpayers. The supermarkets we have talked to what they are requiring is the suppliers to ensure that, number one, when they are supplying, they supply with a fiscalized invoice. And you can generate a fiscalized invoice with VAT or without VAT. Others, what they are doing, the feedback from the supermarket is if an article or an item is costing 10,000 VAT. Some of the suppliers have gone ahead to quote 10,000 even without VAT. So that's why the supermarkets, some are hesitant to deal with those that continue to charge them 10,000 as an example, yet for them they cannot claim because they are charging the same price with that one of VAT.
Ministry of Finance says there is ongoing work to review the issue.
There is already ongoing work to review this issue. So my coming here is part of the review process so that we listen in and then we are able to have a better solution.
The tax body was cognizant that there will be emerging issues during the implementation phase of the IFRIS, but it still claims to making it work, and they will go to great lengths to ensure that they facilitate businesses by addressing all the problems that pop up. Renana Habwe, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
All right, now away from that, we look at Uganda's housing sector. Stakeholders have been called upon to take action on the current global housing challenges. This call has come at a time when the Ministry of Lands and other partner organizations, as well as institutions, are set to host the first ever annual Uganda Housing Symposium under the theme Affordable and Inclusive Housing Solutions for All. This report was gathered by Martha Nimsima.
Uganda's housing sector is estimated at 5.28 million housing units with an average of 5 persons per household. The sector on average accounts for 7.5% of the country's GDP. The government has come up with new initiatives and guidelines for the housing and the development sector. This is for the country's development and to enable citizens to have a good living. More information in the report.
The Sustainable Development Goal 11 aims for resilient, inclusive and safe cities by 2030. And one of the targets is access to adequate, safe and affordable housing basic services for all by 2030.
Housing delivery alone is not the ultimate solution. Land use planning is very key so that we don't only provide housing, but it must be located appropriately through efficient land use planning. In this context, the ministry has developed a comprehensive national physical development plan to address human settlements as well as and other land use partners. Institutional housing in another area where government has identified a glaring gap. Housing for the armed forces, health and education institutions is very critical for addressing the needs of the relevant workforce in government. Government is also concerned with housing challenges, especially for the hard-to-reach areas, and is developing models that are appropriate to retain the critical staff in most of those areas. In the same vein, the green housing and energy-efficient construction is key in addressing the housing question in the country, and also lowering the greenhouse effects. I'm happy to note that Habitat for Humanity has emphasized rainwater harvesting and appropriate and user-friendly sanitation in the houses they have constructed or delivered to our people in rural areas. The COVID-19 global pandemic has also shed light on slums and the dire living conditions of those who call them home. At the same time, it is providing an unprecedented opportunity to make cities more inclusive and resilient. As government we are focusing on housing in slums to help communities not only to survive the health crisis, but thrive in the world that comes afterwards.
The housing sector will need a multi-pronged approach involving participants in the private and public sectors to realize progress towards closing the housing deficit in the medium and long term.
A driver and a catalyst for attainment of the National Development Plan, of the Sustainable Development Plan, is a trigger for economic recovery amidst the current global pandemic that we have faced. What does this mean? Every one of us deserves the opportunity to lead a better future. We appeal to the media to join us in raising awareness and in educating and mobilizing individuals and communities to take action on the current global and national housing challenges that we are faced with. During this day, we expect that as we start the World Habitat Day, we mark the week on the 7th with a symposium, but at the end of October, which we call the Urban October, we will also be drawing attention and checking on how we have made progress in terms of addressing urbanization issues in our country and in our communities.
This will address the growing housing needs of population 45,741,000. Urbanization rate 5.67%. Cost of newly built house 58 million Ugandan shillings. House price per person $43,895. Households that could afford this house with finance 10.26%. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24, Business Today.
All right, now besides that, let's talk matters construction. The August annual headline inflation for the construction sector has been registered at 9.3% compared to 9.1% that was recorded in July 2022. This was during the release of robust construction indices at the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. We do have more of this report.
According to construction sector indices August-July 2022 by Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the August annual headline inflation for the entire construction sector has increased to 9.3% compared to a 1.9% that was recorded in July 2022. This in turn will have a direct impact on the prices of construction materials.
We talk the August annual headline inflation for the construction sector is registered at 9.3%, and that one you can compare actually properly with the 9.1% in the year that ended in July 2022 rather. So these are just figures. We have all the figures behind the graphs, and in our publications we are going to reduce so many tables that you'll be able to use. But we wanted just to give you a sample up to division level. However, we shall disseminate up to product level as of most frequent requested interest.
Construction of buildings registered 5.5% inflation in August 2022 compared to 5.6% of July 2022.
Construction sector index. Here, I told you that we are compiling for materials, utilities, services, and labor. And so we wanted to give you such that even the people who are giving us this information, if you don't declare the information, how much the cost is for cement, for example, or sand, then you are doing a disservice to this index. So whatever comes out, then it's, it might not be capturing what we need to capture rightly. Because you look at construction materials, that is cement, sand, those things. It is taking, actually, if it is in percentages, 80%, it is construction materials. Utilities, only 7, actually 0.1%. It is 1% actually. The services, 12%, and labor, it is 6.9%.
Some developers, therefore, in the housing sector are putting their projects on hold as most construction materials have almost doubled, while others have tripled in prices. The monthly headline inflation for September 2022 increased by 1.5% from 1.0% of August 2022. The monthly core inflation rose by 1.2% in September 2022 from 0.7% rise recorded in August.
It's not only the housing sector where inflation has affected the materials. Quite a number of sectors across the economy have been impacted by inflation, and me and you, you know that this inflation has been caused by external factors. But we are certainly sure that as we progress, especially the impact of fuel has been very critical, and definitely have seen, though very slight a decrease, but it is coming down, and this has an impact on the overall inflation. But as you say, this has an impact on affordable housing in the sense that when materials are expensive, definitely you cannot deliver.
A number of factors have been put forward to explain this rising phenomenon. COVID-19 and the current Russia-Ukraine war have affected the supply chain, especially the importation of raw materials, causing price hikes. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Pedson Mumbere with that report. Now let's take our eyes on the East African Crude Oil Pipeline project. As Uganda grapples with the pressure over the EACOP, that is the East African Crude Oil Pipeline project, the anticipation amongst the NRM youth has taken center stage to further assert to the economic essence of the oil project in rejuvenating Uganda's amid the European Union detest. Bronia Katusime has the details of this report.
East African Crude Oil Pipeline project is a pipeline that will be used to transport oil from the Lake Albert oil fields in Uganda and transported to the Port Tanga in Tanzania, where it shall be sold onwards to the world markets. This project was somehow sabotaged and more.
The sabotage of this oil project, as young people, especially of NRM, we are so, we are not okay with it because it is not good to hinder development in the country, because we know that all the natural resources in our country, they have to be extracted. That is how, even when they were teaching us in school, that when natural resources are there, after some time, they have to be exploited for Uganda. So even this oil project, we are not going to be there years and years and years. If we know that our country has gotten natural resources like oil, we have to be thankful to God and we have to make use of it. We should not make it lie dormant.
The East African Crude Oil Project will benefit Uganda and Ugandans by de-risking all the other upcoming projects, including the refinery and the new exploration projects. Employment of Ugandans, where there will be jobs through direct employment of about 14,000 people by the companies, indirect employment of about 45 people by the contractors. Participation of Ugandan enterprises in the provision of goods and services and capacity building and technology transfer through subcontracting and joint venturing with the involvement of world-class oil service companies.
Administrative, social and political development, because this is money that is going to benefit all sectors of the country. Money that comes from that particular project is going to benefit all sectors of the country, and therefore we expect economic development. We are now looking at employment, because you see, one of the greatest challenges of young people in the country is that many people who have gone to school, they are skilled, do not have jobs. Now, we know once this project comes, first of all, there's construction, first of all, there is purchasing, there is all that. We expect young people to benefit, at least take part in those projects, and they get some money. Then they can also help themselves.
The environment and social impact assessment for the EACOP was concluded and made.
It may be about the environment, Because, first of all, NEMA, which is the National Environmental Management Authority, it came openly and told the people of Uganda that the project has been cleared. Because no project, like such a big project, can be, let me say, can come to that level where it is now if it is not what? Cleared, because there has to be first assessment, they have to assess economical factors, they have to assess how many people are going to be affected, because some people's land was going to be affected where the pipeline was going to go through, but then they had to look at all those, assessments. So they went through all those assessments, how they can compensate people who are going to be affected by that oil project.
The proposed 1,443-kilometer heated pipeline has been a major target of environmentalists for years. It's the main crux in Uganda's oil project, where production is projected to start in 2025. Total Energies owns 62% of the pipeline, with construction estimated to cost $4 billion. The rest is owned by Uganda, Tanzania, and China National Offshore Oil Corporation.
ECOP fully recognizes its responsibilities to land, people, environmental protection, and communities that will be impacted by the project, especially the construction phase. Bronia Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
And Business Today does take a break. We do return with more. Stick around shortly.